Authenticity is really important, especially in today's AI world where you can generate anything. It's a blessing, and it's really helpful when you actually can create that authenticity with the AI documents that you create. And we created this image in a previous video, which looks spectacular. The aim is to create an encouragement to be a member of this organization. As you can see, it's pretty, really well created, well designed. Now, what we want to do is make sure that what we're presenting is authentic to our organization. Now, while this hero image is great, the background is not actually the actual Maltese Museum. And if you haven't been to the Maltese Museum in Mall, get down and check it out. It's absolutely amazing. But so that background there is not the Maltese Museum. And we don't want real people in there unless we've got permission to use them. So that's where the people are okay, but the background, so if people see that image and they come to the organization, there's going to be a little bit of, well, that's not quite right. And that authenticity is what's going to create great word of mouth and make promoting your business much easier. So what we want to do, what I've done, is I've actually gone and taken some photos. And so if I go into my photos here, I've got some photos of the Maltese Museum itself. I've got a bar photo there. I've got a wider shot there. Go away and delete that. So I've got that. I'm going to select a couple of these photos. I won't select that one. Tables. I only want a couple. And I'm going to add that into the chat there. So you've got the stage, we've got the bar and the bar there. Okay. Now I'm going to instruct the chat to actually fix that hero image that we talked about before. So we've got that hero image there. Can you take the hero image in the poster? The background is not the same room as is the actual Maltese Community Centre. I've attached some photos of the museum. Can you use one of these photos as the background for the hero image? Keep the people the same and keep everything else in the brochure exactly the same. All right, it's got that. So I'll send that off. So now what it'll do is it'll take that, if we go back to our pictures. So I've got a nice picture there of the bar. We've got a picture again of the Maltese Centre there. Another one, and you can see the bar in the background there. And also too, some people having some lunch after a committee meeting. And again, the critical part here is you want to create that authenticity. You want to create an image that's actually going to represent your organisation. And this is where we can create that wonderful combination where you can create the people in the image, as we've got in our hero image here. And these are just random people that have been generated. You can use a real people as well, if you've got permission to do that. But if you don't have permission, using generated people is a great way of just speeding up the time and not having to deal with those kind of issues. And what that does is then it creates that, again, that authenticity. So let's see how that's going. We'll just wait for that to generate. All right, that's starting to come through now. And as you can see, if we go into this image now here, so we've got the bar in the background. So we've got the same people having a good time, having a meal. We've got the round table. So if I go back to the actual Maltese Museum images, again, there's the bar in the background. So it's actually selected that, and you've got the trophies at the top. Notice how all the trophies are there, the bar, the colouring, the ceiling. And if we go back to our hero image, similar sort of thing. So we've got the ceiling there, you can see that in there. You've got the trophies there, you've got the bar in the background. And we played before in another video with creating some lighting. So if you actually wanted to, you could actually make that brighter as well. That's given, so when people now get that brochure, they see the brochure, they actually see what's in the background there. But also too, let's have a look at give that another go in another area. Let's have a look here. Again, we've got the community gatherings information here, that what's on offer from the Maltese Museum. And again, that background is not the Maltese Museum. So let's try that again. And just as another example, under the community gatherings photo in the lower or middle part of the flyer is another photo that shows a community hall, but this is not the Maltese Museum and Community Centre hall. Can you select another photo from the ones provided and use that as the hall for the photo, but have it full of people showing that community gathering? Can you replace this photo in the community gatherings section, that one photo, leave everything else in the just a minute, I've lost what I'm doing. Can you replace this photo and leave everything else exactly the same? Oops. Can you replace this photo and leave everything else exactly the same? All right, we'll send that off. Now, obviously I've had a little bit of a typo issue there, but that's one of the things with AI. It will actually work out what you're saying, or it'll attempt to work it out. It doesn't always, but you can check that. So now what the aim is we've got our nice background there, but in this photo here, community gatherings, if it does what I'm wanting it to do, I may not have instructed as well as I could have, but we are doing this live. And just to show you that how you actually work. We're not trying to make this polished so that you get this polished version, and then when you try and do it yourself, you have the mistakes that inevitably happen. So let's have a look at how this goes. And as you can see, if you want to pause and have a read of that, you can see my prompt is probably not the best prompt in the world. If you spend some time creating some really well-detailed prompts, you'll actually be able to do this a little bit better. Another thing you can do with these kind of photos is you can actually go away and create your hero and your other images separately. So we created in the previous video, we just created the brochure with those images in it. But you can create your hero image, you can create all the different images that you've got there, and then you can combine them in. One thing to be aware of doing it this way is you'll find that you'll get drift in areas where, even though you're saying reproduce it exactly, it won't. There'll be some things that drift, and you need to correct that. So going and creating each individual element separately, then combining it at the end is actually a good way of making that happen. So let's see what our image is doing. Still creating. All right, starting to come through, and there we go. So we've got our image, and it's actually modified. Notice the hero image, it's modified it a little bit. So it's added some more people in there to show that community element. But has it done this image? So it hasn't done that well. So what it's done is actually taken that as an instruction. Well, actually, yes, it has. I stand corrected. It has actually done that. So there's the Maltese Museum there. So it's added two elements there. It's taken this one here and added people in there. And this is where it can be very helpful to actually create your elements first, then combine it into a brochure. So you get the idea of what you want for a brochure, and then you actually go and create the different photo elements. So take your photos of the actual area and fill that out, and then bring that all together into a one complete brochure. But I just wanted to take you through that. So just when we're looking at our brochure, go back to original, the background in the photos here is not the actual, no, it hadn't changed that bottom one. Let me stand corrected. We'll go and do that. Let me just do that first, and then I'll come back and give you a summary of what we're doing here. In the middle part of the brochure is the community gatherings and the photo below that. Can you change that photo below that so that it is representative of the actual Maltese Museum? Can you draw from these photos to do that? And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to add in the photos again. So I'm going to select a photo. I'm going to select that photo, and I'm going to select the one where we've got the stage. So that's that one there. So I'll select those two and I'll put them in. Now, hopefully that will go ahead and, so it's loaded those two in. I'll put those two in and hopefully that will go ahead and create that one particular image and update that image. All right, that's coming through now, and then let's have a look and see what we've got. I'll just check that image against what we've got here. So it's changed the background of the hero image again. So it hasn't done what I'm asking it to do. All right, let me just double check that. Just double check here. Got that there. Okay. So it's not doing that. So what I need to do is then give it a better instruction. I think maybe we might have a little bit too much in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that original image we have, and sometimes when it gets in a loop like this, it is one of those things where I don't want to send it. What I want to do, I want to try and save this. Okay, I've saved it to my photos. So I've taken that original image. Sometimes when you're going through a chat, and this is the chat that was continuing before, it will loop back to what it's doing. And the easiest way to overcome that is just start a new chat. So let's try that. We're gonna start a new chat. So we're gonna add in a photo. So we've got that photo in. Do you understand the elements within this brochure? So now it's getting it to get it familiar. So you ask that prompt so it gets familiar with what's going on first. Okay. There is section, so you've got more than museum. And this is where it helps because we've got the heritage credibility block, wide join, the activity tiles row, which is what we've got here. So we know now, because we've got that title, we can actually use that to guide the AI bot as to what we do. All right. So under the activity tiles row is the community gatherings, and the photo below the community gatherings is not one from the Maltese Museum. Full stop. What I want you to do is draw from these photos of the museum and change that photo to be one that is from within the Maltese Museum. Can you make this change and leave everything else exactly the same? So I've added that prompt in. Now I'm going to add in the photos. So again, going back to these photos here. So we've got that one I had before. We've got that one, and I'll put that one in as well. And I'll take that one out because I might confuse it. That one is the main stage area. I'll put that one in, leave them in, see what happens. So we've got those photos, they're loading up. Okay, so they're all loaded, those 3 photos. Let's send that off and see this time if that happens. And that's something to be aware of. Sometimes when you get a long chat going, that you'll actually find that that it starts to repeat itself and it gets a little bit confused. So the easiest way to do that is just take the key element you want, in this case the brochure, load it into a new chat, and then get it to understand what that is, like we did that in the prompt that I asked it. Do you understand the composition? What did I write? Do you understand the elements in this brochure? Do you understand the composition? So then it goes through, and then from that, you're able to direct it more specifically as to what you want it to do. So it's going to create that image now. All right, the image is coming through. Now let's have a look. So we've got our top image. This time it stayed the same. If I just want to go back to the original just to show you. So that was our original top image. You notice you got the TV there and the bar. So that image has stayed the same, which is what we wanted. And now if we look down here at the community gatherings, there we go. So we've got community gatherings, and it's done a good job there of putting the hall in, but what's missing is the people. So let's take that another step further. That is great for that photo. Now can you populate the table with people who are having a dinner function? Full stop. So you're only changing the photo in the, let me just get this right here for a second. Which section are we looking at? Community gatherings, the activity tiles, okay. So you're only changing the photo in the activity tiles and the one photo below community gatherings, the one you've just updated, and you're only adding people sitting at the table and leaving everything else exactly the same. Do not make any other changes to the brochure. Okay, the photo's coming through now. And let's have a look. Okay, we've got our community hall and there's lots of people in the community hall. It's look very similar. It's not exactly the same, but it is very similar. And given the small scale of what this is, that will work very nicely. So there's how you can create some authenticity within your brochures. We originally started in a different chat with a brochure that didn't have the background, and simple changes like that, so uploading that background, you can make those changes. There's a common mantra out there that you need to find your why to get motivated. I always struggled with that. And I just found that I just did it. And I wrote a book about it. So if that's going to be helpful to you, you don't need to find your why. You can just get things done.